insurance designations and securities license. Her goal is to positively impact lives one life at a time. And that's something else I want to resonate with you. Her goal is to positively, and zeroing on positively, impacts lives one life at a time. Welcome, 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 welcome. Miss Daly, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Alderene. It is indeed a pleasure to be here, and I am privileged to be one of your guests. I have watched this show several times, and I've met you in person, and to be called to this table is really an honor. So thank you for having me.
And it is an honor to have you. I'm just excited to have you this morning. And if you know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, you need to get with that somebody right now, because this show is it's going to give you a lot of information. There will be a lot going on this morning. So get with everybody that you know and send out the link so everyone can stay tuned. Um, I see. Good morning, Dawn. Dawn is on. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. So to all our viewers out there who are on Facebook, good morning to you all, and welcome to everybody who is on YouTube. Welcome, and to everyone who is on the radio, welcome to you all. To everyone who we're reaching this morning, welcome, 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 welcome. So everybody knows how Voices Behind the Mask starts, all right? So we start every single morning with what we call, Nally, we call them dodging questions, all
Okay,
right?
all right.
So the hope is that nobody else has asked you these questions and
Mm-hmm.
they are unique to us.
Okay.
That's the hope. Most times we score 100. Not
Hmm.
all the time, but most times we score 100. All right.
Okay.
So
I'm very competitive. So,
I hope we're gonna
yes,
score
we're going
100.
to
We're
score
gonna score 100
100.
this morning.
Yes.
All right. So these are basically like the fun questions. Um, so you grew up in Jamaica,
Yes.
and now you live in Atlanta.
Yes.
All right. So we're gonna make some comparisons,
Okay.
and so we're gonna do foods, and we're gonna look at. Anybody remembers ABC Fast or Slow? There's a game we used to play growing up. As I said, foods. There's a category. There are categories. We're not playing ABC Fast or Slow this morning. Yes. We're gonna do foods. And then we're gonna talk about places. So if you know what's in Atlanta, what is, because Jamaica is a small island, so we can compare Atlanta to. What is, if you make a comparison, what is your favorite place to go here to eat out? What's your favorite place here? And when you're in Jamaica, or when you were in Jamaica, what was your favorite place? What was your favorite place to go to?
Okay.
And it could be your favorite food. So if you want to zero in just on the food, or you just want to go zero on the place, it's up to you. That's a
Okay.
choice.
Okay. Absolutely. So here I like Cuban food. And even last night we went there. The reason I like Cuban food is that it has white rice, black beans, fried plantains. And so every time I go there, it reminds me of Jamaica. Now, if you notice, I didn't mention any protein because there were days there that was what it was, right?
Hmm.
There was no protein unless you go kill my goat that I had growing up, and I just don't eat goat meat because of that. And when my grandmother gave her to me, so that it's a female goat, so
Hmm.
that she could produce, of course, and that's the source of income. So I absolutely love Cuban food for that reason, those three staples. And when I go back and think about Jamaica, tasty patties.
Ooh.
That's the only thing I remember. Always wanting tasty patties. But growing up in the country, that was a luxury, right? So how do you buy a patty for whatever the dollar amount is? What do I have to give up just for that taste, right? Was it worth tasting something in the moment, a short-term satisfaction instead of that long-term goal of what else can I do with that resource? So,
Yeah, and you bring back memories for me. When you said that, good morning, Roxanne. That's my sister.
oh, good
She's on.
morning, Roxanne.
Um, it brings back memories for me too because when you said it was a luxury, and that is just so true. Again, growing up without resources,
Yes.
just like just like you, a patty that we take for granted. I can go out, and if my son wants 5 patties because he loves patties. Um, Morning candy. So if my son wants patties, I can buy as many patties as he wants now.
Mm.
But back then, when your parent brings home, because my market was a famous Linstead market. So when my mother would go to Linstead Market and she brings back a patty, if she
Mm.
even brings back 1 patty and she shares it for every single one of us,
Right.
it everybody's excited because you're getting a patty.
Right.
And now, things have changed so much. I don't even think Jamaican kids appreciate getting a patty like we did. So that really,
Absolutely not.
I love that, that truly brings back a lot of memories. I've not tried Cuban food as yet.
Okay.
Um, someone was asking me, I think it was some, it was last week about Middle Eastern food. So I said, oh, I need to try that. So now my other thing is to go to a Cuban restaurant.
Nice.
I might take you all there with me when I go. All right, I might go live. I may or may not go live. I might.
Oh,
Yes. So you have Reds. Have you ever had Cuban? You love it too. All
mhm.
right. Reminds you of Jamaica too. All right. Different strokes, different folks. What's the planting? A little harder. So it's the green planting or the rye planting?
I think that the Cuban is nice, but I think they cook their plantain a little bit harder. Jamaicans tend to make some of the plantain. Depends on who makes it, but they make the plantain a little bit softer.
Softer. Hmm.
It's the ripeness of the plantain.
Is a man. All right. So we're going to do places now. All right.
Okay.
So in terms of again Atlanta, and you could we're in the United States, so you could go beyond the state. You couldn't go to other states if you want to talk about places. So let's make the comparison now again. Your best, the place that you love the best in Jamaica and here. Where do you love to go in Jamaica? Where do you love to go here in the United States?
And I'm glad that you took Atlanta out of it. We relocated actually about 8 years ago from South Florida. We were in Broward County for, I don't know, 20 something years.
Wow, that's where my
And
mom lives.
okay, yeah, right there
My
in
mom
Fort
lives in
Lauderdale.
Miramar.
Okay,
Hmm.
okay. So I would compare Jamaica to Florida, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
So the beach calms me. The water calms me. So when I grew up on the beach, of course I can't swim like a lot of Jamaicans.
Ooh, here
It
goes
is
one.
it is unbelievable that I spent my childhood in the ocean and I still can't swim.
Wow.
So when I went to South Florida, it reminded me so much of Jamaica, and I would spend a lot of time on the beach and reflecting. But the beaches are not as good as Jamaica, of
Hmm.
course. So that is the part in the place that I like, and that comparison, that reminder.
So, for the food, we had a little in common. I'm not a beach person.
Mm,
I do. I'll go to the beach. We were in Jacksonville last week. Took my son up there to the beach, and I was sitting under the tent.
mm,
I was sitting under the tent. I had some work to do, so I brought my work with me, and I did take pictures. But anybody who knows me know I take pictures towards the end when we're ready to go. I'll go there, and I did the same thing when I went to Jamaica in December as well. So, but what one thing I agree with you on, I never thought about it before. It was calm.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
even with all those, I mean, there was a lot of people, around you, um, but it was calm.
And a lot of times when people go to sleep or go in meditation or their quiet time, a lot of times they listen to the ocean.
Yes, and
So
that
there
is true.
is something, some science behind
Hmm.
what it does to the brain. So it definitely calms me. And one fun fact about that as well is I have a fear of drowning. And I'm always at the beach. I mean, what type of person is that, right? Because my fear, I'm not going to allow the fear to stop me
Are you
from
still going?
enjoying. I'm
And
still from enjoying what I want to.
that is powerful. Um, that shows, and this is a good start, to talk a little bit about your story, because that shows the type of person that you are. Because a lot of us, and me myself included, we're afraid to face our fears,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe that's one of the reasons why I don't like the beach, because I almost drowned
Mm,
as a child.
right.
I went to visit my aunt. It was a river.
Okay.
We know rivers in Jamaica are deep.
Right. Yes. Yes.
And I went to visit my aunt, and I almost drowned.
Wow.
And I just don't do. I'll go to the beach. I don't like the sun. And everybody's like, "Oh, you're from the island." I'm like, "Oh yeah," but I don't do sun. I don't do beach. I don't do the thing that everybody comes for.
Yes.
But I'll go there. Like I like the beach. Like if the sun is so. When we're leaving, the sun was sun was setting. So I was saying to my husband, "No, this is my time to come to the beach." And he's like, "Oh," I'm
Oh,
like,
the
"Yeah,
sunset.
yeah," because the sun is gone. So, different stroke for different foods, but the beach is calm.
Yes.
And so there you have it. So if you are in anywhere in Florida, you might not get a chance to be in Jamaica, but you might be in Atlanta, you might be in New York, and you want, a tranquil atmosphere, find a beach.
Absolutely.
Find a beach. If you're in New York, it might take you a lot more hours, but find a beach. And I do agree, as much as it's not my first love, I do agree with that, because I sat there and I was able to do my work, and there's a calm. And I was even
Yes.
thinking about that. Maybe it's just that sound of the ocean.
Absolutely, it
And
is.
for those persons who are listening, I did a video, and I'll post it at some point, because something jumped out at me while I was there, and so I did a video for posting. So, and yes, you'll see that I was fully dressed in my video. All right, so let's talk a little about you, Nally.
Okay.
Uh,
Well, before we start, how did we score? Did we get 100?
Oh yes, we did.
Okay. Woo.
Oh yeah, woo! We did.
I told you I'm competitive.
All right, we did. Yes, she did. She did say she's competitive.
Yes.
She had to ask if we scored a hundred. A
Yes.
hundred. All right, so let's talk a little. So one of the things that you we mentioned in your bio is that, one, you grew up in Jamaica. We spoke a little about Jamaica earlier, but another thing I think that is important to for our viewers to hear is that you mentioned the fact that you grew up not having resources, and that is so not having resources. Just that one statement is loaded.
Yes.
So let us delve a little into that and tell us about your growing up, what your experiences were like.
Okay, absolutely. So I am the sixth of eight siblings. So that was the last daughter, female. So I got all the hand-me-downs, right? The shoes that couldn't fit. If you look at my toes, I tell people no, oh, I have runner's toes, but in fact, it was the shoes that could not fit me. Okay, so when you think about that, And then when I was 9 years old, my mom was brutally murdered.
Mm.
And my father was the town drunk. And he wasn't just the quiet drunk. Okay, he would go to my school. It was primary school, all age school. And so I was about, I don't know, 8, 9, before teenage years. And he would just come there and just start talking and
Wow.
carrying on. And kids can be very mean,
Mm-hmm.
Alderene. And I would pretend as if I didn't know him, but he would call my name and make sure everybody knows
Right.
that that's my dad. So when my mom died, we did not have anything. And I'm going to get into one of the reasons I'm here today to talk about insurance and
Mm-hmm.
protection and life insurance. So my mom didn't have any savings. My mom could not read either or write. And so it was six of us to go to school.
Mm-hmm.
How do you go to school about 8 miles away and you didn't have any lunch? Nobody wanted to get the food from the government because then it shows that, hey, this person is poor.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to be resourceful. So I looked around the community and said, I love school. I always loved school. I used to
Mm-hmm.
cry to go to
You sound like
school.
me.
And I said, oh, I'll go to my aunts, I'll go to my uncles, I'll go to anybody and say, oh, I want to go to school. Can you please help me? Can you please help me? And they would help me. Now, I had a choice, Alderine. I had a choice to either say, hey, this is my situation. If God wanted me to be better than my circumstances,
Mm-hmm.
my mom would not have died, my father, and this and that and that. I could have done that. Or I could say, okay, what is in my hand? What can I do
Mm.
with that? And how do I multiply that? And how do I create a future that I become in love with than the memories of my past? How do I do that? So when you want, if something is a must, you find a way, you make a way.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a should, you're like, I should do this, I should. It was a must for me. And I wanted to become more. I wanted to not have to wait until others eat before I ate.
Mm-hmm.
So I chose that life for myself and I pushed through. You know, as a sidebar, I was talking to a young lady the other day and she was saying, oh, I can't, I'm shy, I can't sing, I have fear, right? And I said, you know, when you think about the butterfly, if the butterfly could say, hey, you know what? I just got here. Look at me. I'm so beautiful. You think about the origin of the butterfly.
Mm-hmm.
The origin of the butterfly was a caterpillar.
Mm-hmm.
The caterpillar could have said, oh, if God wanted me to be a butterfly, he would have made me a butterfly. You know, in Jamaica, they're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, why are you having, if God wanted you to be this, he would have made you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the caterpillar could have been comfortable being a caterpillar and say, this is who I am. This is the family I was born into. This is
And
what my grandmother
I just
did.
want to stick and that you know you are touching on a lot of points. One of it, I'm just gonna zero in on the butterfly and let you continue. I speak about that in my book about the evolution because we have to evolve.
Absolutely.
You know, and so
Absolutely.
the butterfly, and I made a comparison between in the book between the butterfly and the dinosaur,
Mm,
and why the dinosaur became extinct is because there was evolution did not take place, but the butterfly continues to
absolutely.
evolve.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So when you think about your lives and whatever stage you're in, right? Whether you're in that caterpillar stage or you know what, I'm going to push through out of this cocoon because I have a vision of my future. I am a butterfly. And you have people say, oh, go sit down, girl. You ain't no butterfly. You're a caterpillar. And you're like, no, I'm a butterfly. And you envision that future for
Mm-hmm.
yourself. And then what do? You push through your circumstances. And even when you're like, oh my gosh, I feel trapped in this cocoon. but you remember the future.
That's powerful.
And
And I like the word that you use. I don't know if you realize what you just said, but you said, I remember the future.
That's right.
And remember, somebody would say, if I'm remembering, I'm going back. But one, man, you are touching on some stuff. And a lot of these stuff I have in my book about, because everything starts inside the
absolutely,
mind.
absolutely,
And that is what you did.
yes,
you
Yes.
you had your future, and that
Yes.
is why you could remember,
There you
because
go.
your future was already created in your mind.
there you go, there you
So
go.
it's just moving forward with what you already know,
Absolutely.
and that is powerful. I wish
Yes.
and I hope there's a viewer out there. Good morning, Miss Taylor. I hope that our viewers out there are latching onto what you're saying, because this is powerful. I remember the future.
Absolutely.
I want somebody to catch that.
So you know, you make the vision, and it doesn't matter what it looks like. So going back to that resourcefulness. So when you see your future and you become in love with it, because what happens is that you're going to remember the past, because that's the only place the enemy can come from, right? From your past. And when you remember your past, because notice when I just retell the story of my past, there was no emotion attached to it, Alderene. Because what happens is that there's always emotion manifested in your body when you remember your past. So you're stuck there. How do you now get out of the emotions of your past and walk into your future? And when you become what you know you are able to become, the butterfly is that the end of it? Is that the end of your evolution?
Next level. Another thing I talk about. There's always
Yes.
another level.
Yes.
So once you have attained this level, the question you need to ask yourself is, what's your next level?
Correct. But it's a thin line, Alderene, because a lot of times you also have to balance that with humility. You have to balance that with not loving the things of the world, right? So, how do you balance that? I always encourage people to have mentors. And success leaves clues. So, if I want to attain something, I go find somebody who has already done it and I mirror that person. I don't have to start from zero. There's somebody out there on YouTube who has a story that I can relate to. And that's what you model. So who do you want to become? Is it the memories of the past that holds you hostage? So when you think about where I am today,
And I'm going to stick another pin right there, because you said something. Because a lot of times when people think about mentors,
yes,
they often think that you have to have somebody in your space. You have to have someone on the phone. But you said something very important. You can find mentors, that people who you don't even know.
absolutely.
Because these people are out there doing the things that you want to do. So you look at what they do, how they do it.
Right.
Because I remember when, I was in South Carolina and going through my hell in terms of my financial situation and stuff. And there was, I think Lisa Nichols. And as I listened to her story, and she told, I'm not going to go and divulge her story right now. It's public, but I'm not going to talk about it. But she said one thing that jumped out at me. She said, when she saw something happen with her son, she said, she told herself that I will never come back here ever again.
That's right.
And that was all I needed.
Yes.
I said to myself that this is the reality, but I'm going to do every single thing in my power. I'll never come back here again. So that was a mentor.
Yes.
Somebody who I never met, somebody who never met me. And then we can find so many other people, to pour into us.
Absolutely.
And so that is very
Absolutely.
powerful. Find somebody, and I am emphasizing these things because find somebody who is was walk the walk that you have walked, and I want somebody to catch all of these nuggets. You won't get another chance. So all of these nuggets that Natalie is throwing at us this morning, I want you to catch them. I want you to allow these nuggets to allow you to ensure that you go, grow, and glow in your purpose.
That's right. And in this age of technology, it's not enough to know. It's enough to know how. There are no excuses. When we were growing up, I didn't even have a phone. We still had the kerosene lamps, right? Home Sweet Home, I think, was
I know
the
that
lampshade.
lamp.
So, but now technology has evolved. So, what are you doing with this technology? Even with AI, people are like, oh my gosh, she's going to take my jobs, blah, blah, blah. But what are you doing to prepare yourself?
And correction, and it has been said over and over. This week, I was at work, and I had a course to do at work because you have to do all of those security courses and stuff. And it says, I've seen it before. AI cannot take your job. AI needs us to operate. All right. So, but but the point you're making is that what are you doing?
Correct.
What are you doing? And that goes back to responsibility.
Yes,
Because every single one of us, we have a responsibility.
absolutely.
We have a responsibility to ourselves
Yes.
to look back. I'm not that's powerful, to remember the future.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
And when you talk about responsibility to ourselves, when you think about this culture, and you hear the word generational, and there are two words that when you hear generation, there's another word that comes up, and a lot of times we hear the word curse, right? So people will say, oh, generational curse. And at what point are we going to be responsible and turn that second word into something
A
else?
blessing.
There you go. So how do you do that? By saying, like Lisa Nichols says, never again, right? I'm not going to go this road again. Didn't I just pass this Walmart? Didn't I just pass
Why am
this?
I back here?
Why am I back
I
here?
don't know what you're doing this morning, but you're touching on some things. I tell people you need to go get my book. When I talk about, even this week, I started rereading my book. We keep finding ourselves at the same place.
Yes. Yes.
And again, it's because of that lack of mindset change, because your mindset have to change.
And also, Alderene, is that we're looking outside of ourselves. It's not my fault. It's the devil. It's the parents. It's this and that. And I talk to a lot of believers, and the first entity that is blamed is the devil, right? So you look within yourself. You talk about this show is a show of purpose. And a lot of people are like, what is my purpose? But they're looking outside of themselves. And there's so much noise, and they don't have that quiet time to sit within themselves and listen to their thoughts, where their thoughts go. What am I thinking about? Do I spend my first 15 minutes reaching for my phone as soon as I wake up? How do I spend my day? Am I always on social media, looking at other people that and have this spirit of jealousy? So Lisa Nichols, she said, I didn't just land on top of the mountain, she said. She said, I crawled there and I have the scars to show it. And it's the same thing with me. People look at me and be like, oh my gosh, she's a State Farm agent. Oh my gosh, she has all these letters behind her name. But I told you about, not only am I competitive, I want it to be better. I want to have a future. And I want to leave a legacy for my children. So that word, those two words that I mentioned before, that generational and that other word, we have to change the trajectory of that. I mentioned in our earlier conversation about how I had to go and beg to go to school because my mom did not have the wherewithal
Send
to
you.
because she died. She didn't to make provisions for me or my other five siblings. So when you think about it, and in this day and age, we have to protect the things and the people that matters most. I will have conversations with people about life insurance, and they have dependents. And in this culture, no one wants to talk about that because they're like, "Oh, you're trying to say I'm gonna die? Oh, we're all gonna die." But what is the legacy
That you're leaving.
that you're leaving behind? Most people don't just drop down and die. A lot of times there are bills, hospital bills, mortgages, colleges that need to be paid for. But as responsible adults, we don't want to address that. So then that generational second word that should be a blessing for your children and your children's children. I think it says in Proverbs that a wise man leaves a legacy or an inheritance for his children. So when I speak to believers and they're like, "No, I don't want to talk about protection for your
But
assets."
here, and I love that. I love how you brought in, because now we're talking insurance, right?
Yes.
I love how you brought in the scriptures, because a lot of people, and it's just so true, nobody wants to speak about death. Everybody wants to live forever. I literally had that conversation yesterday. My pastor and we had that conversation that death is going to come.
Yes.
I didn't even know that they when they're burying you, they actually don't put on the whole clothing. They cut the back of your jacket and tuck everything in. That was new for me.
I didn't know that either.
So the conversation went. I was like, I didn't know that. I said, but you're so stiff. Nobody's gonna have time to be
That is true.
struggling with you. So what they do is that we basically don't even go to the grave
Correct.
with
Fully-
even fully
fully
clothed.
clothed. Yes.
We don't go to the grave fully clothed. So, but it is the reality.
Yes.
So the question is, it's not if we're going to die.
Absolutely.
It's not even when we're going to die. The question is, what are you leaving?
There you go.
So
There you go.
this now, I want our visitors, our viewers, I'm sorry, to listen, because one of the things that I said earlier in Miss Daly's bio, Mrs. Daly's bio, is that she is now establishing her own State Farm agency.
I have today is my official
Go
opening
ahead.
day. So yes.
So today is the opening day, and the
Yes.
big grand opening
It's
is
tomorrow,
tomorrow.
yes.
So if you're in Georgia, I'd allow her, to give you information on that later. But right now, we're gonna talk, because again, like we said, it's about what about are you? Yes, it's self care is important, but then there's self care and they're selfish.
Yes.
Are you leaving something for the next generation? Or you going to leave your next generation struggling the same way that you are struggling,
Right.
or you were struggling?
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
on that note, tell us a little about your journey with State Farm, what you're doing now, and how this can help to change lives.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of people just think that, okay, these people are just collecting my money every single month. One of the things I did as a young person, not even understanding life insurance, that's the honest truth, at the time, but right off the bat out of college, The first thing I got, because my job never provided that, everything else, health insurance, everything else, I bought life insurance.
Absolutely.
And that's one of the things, I always ensure that I have life insurance.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little.
So
And it's not just life insurance. So you're going
no.
to tell us about the whole works.
Well, I'm passionate about life insurance over, say, auto insurance or homeowners insurance because those are required. So I won't touch
But you
the.
provide everything.
So yes, so I mentioned, or you mentioned in my bio about my designations. And I told you I'm an overachiever, and I believe also in education. So I do have the highest insurance designations, my chartered property and casualty underwriters designations. I'm a chartered financial consultant, chartered life underwriter. I have my series 6, 63, and 65. Why is that important? It's important because I want to empower and to educate this community on what's out there. Growing up, and I'm going to get to your
Go
original
ahead.
question.
No.
So,
Go ahead.
growing up, we were told to save, right? Whether it's your grandparents putting a couple dollars under the mattress or you work and you save. Alderene, you cannot save enough money to retire, to build wealth. So, Nali, if I can't do that, what do I do? You invest. Whether it's stocks, mutual funds, which we also, because of the securities license, which I also sell as well, a Roth IRA, we do provide that as well. Some people say life insurance is a form of investment, and some people say it's not. It just depends. To me, it is a form of life insurance. It's a form of investment, that life insurance piece. So my journey started with State Farm in Florida, and I was an adjuster, an injury adjuster, and I also handled the litigation. I 3 years after I started, I was invited to be in leadership. So I have defended our insureds from the claims perspective, deciding on, okay, what are we going to do with this claim, providing a defense attorney for them. And so I've seen the side of people who are in accidents. They have assets, but they're underinsured. What does that mean? So in Georgia, you're only required to have the minimum state limits for your liability insurance on your car, which is $25,000 per person, $50,000 per accident. But if you have assets and if you're involved in an accident that you're at fault, and say, for example, the other person's medical bills, not even the pain and suffering, are, say, $200,000, the gap between that $25,000 and that $200,000, that's your responsibility. So in my agency, Nally Daily State Farm Agency, and we're over here in Hampton. It's 707 Old Highway 3 in Hampton. A lot of people don't even know where Hampton is. South of the airport, I have no idea how to even give you directions because I just relocated from Snellville. But in any event, in this day of technology, most people don't even go into the agent's office anyways. But in the event you need to call me, which you're going to tell me afterwards, but I'll just drop it right here, is 833 NAL Daily is the phone number. 833 N as in Nancy, A as in Apple, L as in Larry, and you'll do the numeric with that. D as in David, A as in Apple, L as in Larry, Y as in yellow. So when I saw how, then we have the other side of the coin, people who don't have any insurance at all because, oh, my car is paid for, and they pass away, unfortunately, because those were the type of claims that I handled. There is no life insurance. So people, you see all these GoFundMes, and that's not, GoFundMe is not life insurance. So I encourage everybody, if there's nothing else that I am leaving you with today, is that one, you have to protect those things that matter the most to
Mm-hmm.
you, right? So, what is important to you? Is it the shoes, whatever? But while you think about that, if you have somebody depending on your income, you need to highly consider. And a lot of people don't understand.
I like that. I never thought about it that way. If you have somebody who's dependent on your income, so if
Absolutely.
anything happens to you, and I hope you're all grabbing exactly what Nali is saying, because working in claims, seeing people passing
Yes,
and not leaving anything.
correct.
So that is again where you see the importance of the life insurance. But this is like I said, this is powerful. If you are responsible for somebody now,
Yes, yes,
and thinking, going back to your childhood, thinking
correct.
about your mom
Absolutely.
passing when you were 9,
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
Your mom passed when you were 9, and no life insurance, nothing.
Correct.
So you see, a lot of people step out and do certain jobs because I can. But you do it, and now the clarity is there where I did this because I'm a testimony of what can happen, and not
Absolutely.
only am I a testimony, I have seen
Absolutely.
what others have been through.
Absolutely.
All right, so you can
And
continue.
another thing too, when people think about life insurance, not just the fear,
And
because it
Roxanne is
comes.
saying it's very important.
Yes, that's correct, Roxanne. So there are two types of insurance for life insurance. There's a whole life insurance that protects you for your entire life, and there's a that's permanent, the whole life. And then there's a term or temporary insurance, and it protects you for a period of time. So, for example, I know you mentioned your son. So, say for example, you have a mortgage, and the mortgage you paid off in 30 years,
Hmm.
but you need, if something were to happen to you, if you were to pass away, you want that person to still be able to live in the house. So you can have that temporary protection to pay for that mortgage.
Hmm.
So you don't have to go out there and say, okay, 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 I need $1 million in whole life insurance. You can have it's like a hybrid. It's a
Hmm.
combination of a whole life and which is a permanent policy and or a temporary policy for a period of time.
Hmm.
Or for college funds, some people we do 529s. You can do that. That's a temporary need.
Can you explain? I've never heard of the 529s. Can you
It's a
explain?
college fund. So
Okay.
if you say, for example, when little Johnny, a lot of people, as soon as the child is born and have a social security number, that's something that you want to think about. And you can call me and we can go deeper
So
into that. But
if you
it's
have a young child, you need, and that is exactly what she's saying. Morning, Miss Marcia. Morning, Blestian. Um, if you have a young child, this, what's the name again? What's the
the
name of?
529
Oh,
plan.
I was
It's a college
I
fund.
hope I didn't
It's
mix up. No, I want to
it's
use the correct terms.
a college fund.
If you have a young child just born, can it be something that they can do later, or do you have to
Oh,
start?
absolutely. No, you
So
can.
get your 529. So when your child gets to a certain age, you don't
College
have
age.
to worry about
There you
finding
go.
money for them for
There you go.
college.
There you go. And also, when the child is younger, that's the best time to get a whole life policy for them. And there are different types of permanent policies. You have universal lives, you have 10 pay 50. There's so many.
Hmm.
So it's not just one product. There are options to choose from. There are no excuses. $25,000, 50, like whatever it is. And you can change that as time progresses. But not having anything is so dangerous.
Hmm.
You look in a household and there are two people, whether they're married or not, and one, say for example, let me just say male and female, just for
Hmm.
simplicity. And the female is a stay at home mom, and then the father is the only one that's working. And the stay at home mom, a lot of people don't see the value.
Mm-hmm.
But when you put a dollar amount on what that person is doing in the household, you want to consider a life insurance for that person.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you're going to need somebody to take the kids to school. You're going to need somebody to cook, to clean.
That that listen, morning Candy. She said she did a 529 when both her kids were 6 months.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Congratulations. Absolutely.
She's all the way in New York. Um, a lot of some. I started talking. I got a senile moment. Go ahead. I'll remember what I'm
No, we're
saying in a
talking
minute.
about the stay at home parent.
Right. I have seen, I didn't even know there was anything for them because I have seen so many stay-at-home moms,
Yes.
especially, and then you have the husband going out to work, and what happens? The husband pass away, and the woman is left with nothing,
Absolutely.
because they didn't have any insurance on them, nothing at all, so they are now left to go out there, find a job, try to figure it out, or even sometimes, so there are so many different situations. I'm glad
Absolutely.
you touched on that.
Absolutely. So the question is, how much do I love my family, right? How important is my family to me?
Mm-hmm.
And then when you start setting the example and modeling that behavior for your children,
Mm-hmm.
they know that, hey, um, my mom, my dad, my cousin, my aunt, my uncle, this is what I saw that they did.
Mm-hmm.
So now it becomes a requirement. And that two
And
word,
that goes back to the word that you
there
used
you go,
earlier.
there you go,
So
there you
you
go.
are, so that this is, so I know you're not using the word, but I'm going to use the word. It is, this is powerful. This is powerful because we talk every single day about generational curses.
Absolutely, we do.
We rarely ever talk about generational blessings.
Right.
We talk about curses all the time.
Yes.
But here is a practical way of breaking generational curses,
Absolutely.
because God God give us wisdom.
Yes.
And so in being wise means that, okay, so we know we struggled or we had enough. Either way, we don't want our children to come and have enough. We don't want our children to come and struggle. So even this 529 is a way to free our children, because
Absolutely.
a lot of these kids are now leaving college, and one of the greatest challenge that they have is the student loan.
Absolutely.
So starting a 529 for them, like
I think Candace said
Claudia,
it.
Claudia Candy,
Yeah.
says, there are two Candy online, so let me just say
Okay.
Claudia. Morning cause, like she said it was the best thing when her daughter started college 3 years ago.
Mm.
3 years ago, it was, she realized it was the best thing that she could have done. So we need to make better financial decisions, not just
Absolutely.
for ourselves, but for the next generation.
And what is Claudia's daughter gonna do for her kids?
Do the same thing.
There you go.
Because she just learned from her mom.
There you go. So you
And then, before you move on, we need to have these conversations with our
yes,
children.
yes, absolutely,
Go ahead.
absolutely. And so when you think about people throwing the word out, generational curses in this, and my goal is not to offend anybody at all, but we have to take responsibility, right? And we have to say, okay, all right, it's there or it was there. How do I change that? What do I need to do? Who draws that line in the sand? It starts with you and it starts today. So
Wow.
forget about, okay, fine, up until
Another
today.
nugget. I love
It's
that.
today.
In
It's
order to
today.
remember every single thing that it was said and is going to be said here today. Who draws? That's powerful.
Yeah.
Who draws that line in
Correct.
the sand? It
Correct.
is
In the
you.
Absolutely.
You are the one who is going to draw that line and say, what was yesterday staying yesterday, and
Today.
we are moving on into tomorrow. That's powerful,
Absolutely.
Nally.
I'm telling you, somebody has to stand up in the family and say, you know what? It stops with me. it stops here, it stops with me, and the bloodline is going to change.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Powerful.
So people talk about familiar spirits that follows the family line, right? You look in the family history and you'll see, oh, my dad was this, his dad was this, therefore I'll be this, and that is not true. So it's that same spirit that lingers around that tells you that that is your destiny. That is not your
It is
destiny.
not.
So remember that conversation we had about the caterpillar.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm talking to my caterpillars today. I'm not talking to the butterflies. You have to invite me back to talk about the butterflies,
That's
Alderene.
fine. That's fine.
But I'm talking to
Tell me when you're ready. Tell me when you're ready.
I'm talking to the caterpillars and the stories that we tell ourselves why you're satisfied with being a caterpillar. And I'm not talking about gaining the whole world and losing your soul. That's not what I'm talking about. A lot of times we blame God and we're angry because if God wanted me to do this, then I would be. Again, you have to have a vision of your future. And when you remember your past, it comes with that emotion that I mentioned to you before. So there's a hook in your flesh. And how do you unhook that flesh? And why there's a hook? Because it holds you and it tears the skin when you try to let it go. So when you don't want to be hurt, because there's hurt and pain that comes when you're pulling that hook out of your flesh. You could say, you know what? I'm comfortable here in my caterpillar role. I can see 3 feet in front of me, and I'm fine. God was with the poor and the needy. Jesus was with the poor and the needy, and I'm being humble. But that is a trick of the enemy. Because as believers, you're supposed to be the head and not the tail.
That's right.
It's the love of money. And what money does is that it magnifies what's in your heart. So if you are kind and gentle and meek, all it does, it makes you even kinder. You're like, okay, who can I help today?
Mm-hmm.
And as a State Farm agent, that is my goal. Who can I help today? And my goal this morning, Alderene, is not to offend. That is not my goal. When Jesus went and he turned over the money chamber and the tables and stuff, his goal was not to offend. When he said to his disciples, oh my gosh, are you going to leave me also? Because they say the teaching is so harsh. But what it does is that it cuts between your soul and your spirit. And you confront yourself, that evil inclination within yourself. And you say, I am not a caterpillar.
I'm a butterfly.
I'm a butterfly. What happens is that when you start, so progress equals success. It's not perfection. So when you make that progress from being a caterpillar into a butterfly, you know what? I can do this. I can do this. Then you start overcoming. And the first person and the first thing you overcome is yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So you overcome that thing
Sometimes we're
within you.
standing in our own way.
Absolutely. You look at the person in the mirror and it's you against you. Alderene, I am so grateful that you have given me this platform to share, right?
I'm
and another
honored to
thing,
have you.
thank you. Another thing I want to mention also, if I may, to your audience, is that the goal, if you notice, I didn't spend a lot of time talking about my challenges, right? You don't want to trauma bond with anybody.
And I listen. We had the conversation. We had that conversation. And after getting off the phone with you,
Yes, ma'am.
that just resonated with me. Is like you're doing things all along, and that terminology that you use, hey, you're gonna hear me with it because I'm gonna run with it. I'm saying that is just so powerful.
Yes.
I want to help you to move forward.
Yes.
But I don't want to trauma bond with you.
There you
because
go.
trauma bonding with you is just going to cause more trauma for both of us.
And bring
that's so
back,
powerful.
Yeah, bring back that
So-
which you're
so
trying to get out
what you're
of.
trying to do is not to help people to go back to where they're coming from, but to help them to move forward.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome.
So Thank you so much for having me. If you need to find me,
Yet I wanted to tell the audience. I wanted to tell them before. So we're yes, you realize we're wrapping up. So I wanted to tell them about the event that's coming up. Your grand opening tomorrow.
yes,
Where that will be. Um, address everything. If they need to contact you,
yes,
what is the phone number?
yes.
So give me the phone number. So I'll
Okay.
drop it in the chat right
It's
away.
833 Nile Daily.
Um,
And my grand opening tomorrow. And Alderene, I do have a complimentary food truck with a lot of Caribbean food. You could call it some Cuban in there as well. So that's a hint for you to come on out,
I
Alderene,
will be there.
and try it. Okay, you're gonna be, oh, it's Jamaican food, but it's really Cuban food. So it starts at 2 tomorrow,
All right,
and
let me
it's
make
not
sure.
2
So this
Caribbean
is it.
time. Yes, ma'am. It's not 2 o'clock Caribbean time. I'm starting at 2
And let me
o'clock.
tell you, this lady is structured. So if she says it's 2 o'clock, it's gonna be two
It's
o'clock.
2
So you
o'clock.
find yourself there at 2, or
Yes,
you're gonna be late.
yes, and my website is nollydaily.com.
All right. www.
And
You can
it
go ahead and
was
talk
a
to them.
pleasure to serve this community. It continues to be a pleasure to serve the community.
All right.
And
Type in the spell it, Nally.
NALHLIEDALY.
Just make sure I have it right.
Yes, .com.
All right, great. Go ahead.
And my goal, I'm not just another, we have so many State Farm agents. And my goal is not to be just a State Farm agent. I want to be a partner for life with you, to help you when life is not going right. It goes beyond giving you insurance. It's somebody to help you navigate life's uncertainties. The biggest compliment, Alderene, I can have is to walk to a family and hand them a check, a life insurance check. I mean, that warms my heart. And that is what I want to do for you. And I'm not talking about death, I'm actually talking about life and the life of those that are left behind. And to make sure that you don't have your kids don't have to be like what I had to do and go beg, right? And put yourself out there to be taken advantage of because you're trying to get a better life. Today's the day. Let's do the right thing.
Today's the day for the change.
Today's
Today's the
the
day
day.
for the change.
Thank
So
you.
you serve
All of Georgia.
all of Georgia.
Yes.
So I want you to understand that and get that. So she serves all of Georgia, not
Yes.
just Hampton, Georgia.
No, all of
She
Georgia.
serves all of Georgia. So if you're here in Georgia and you need an insurance representative, you need to go see Nally. Um, Lestian is saying, great interview. Thank you,
you.
thank you, thank you. And I agree. I agree. I just sat back this morning and just absorbed, everything that you had to say, and you left some very powerful nuggets with us. I think my biggest takeaway is when you said, remember, when you remember the future,
Absolutely.
because you already create what you want in your mind, and that is what insurance is about. And not just, and by the way, yes, she spoke on life insurance because that is what drove her to be helping people in this manner.
Absolutely.
But she provides
Home,
all
auto,
financial
yes.
advice, everything.
Yes,
And
yes.
she has her MBA and everything.
Yes, and all
So
my securities license as well and
awesome.
designations. And I'll leave you with one thing. So the scripture says to write the vision and make it plain. And on May 17, 2023, I said to my husband, honey, this is the vision that I have of my future. And about a month ago, that vision came off my vision board, and it's now in my office on my wall with my name, State Farm, Nolly Daily, my designations, and agent. Why am I saying
Roxanne
this?
says, congratulations, Habakkuk 2, verse 2.
Thank you. So why am I saying that? Because sometimes if you don't write it down, you forget. You forget. So people will say to me, Nali, are you excited? I'm excited, but my excitement, some people are waiting on the event to happen, Alderene. So when I said to remember the future, I already,
You were already there.
I was already there.
Yes, I
and,
understand
and
that.
manifested it in my body. The excitement, I saw it. Every time I go to sit an exam, I saw myself already passing. So the memories in my body in the future, when I'm in the future, that became my past. And when I'm in my past, that became my future. So in my future, I'm remembering my past, which is really my future. I know that's a lot.
Yeah,
You have to invite me back.
Yes, ma'am. Most
Thank you for
most
having
definitely.
me.
And thank you so
And I
much for
appreciate
being
it.
here. I concur with everybody who is on this morning, who is saying, it was a great interview.
Thank you.
People are saying that they learned a lot. I thank you so much for coming in. And as you said, we have a lot more to talk about.
Yes.
When we get together, we just
Correct. Correct.
but it positive.
Yes.
Positive conversations. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you, Alderene.
We wish you all the best.
Thank you.
As a matter of fact, we're not wishing you the best. Blessings.
Yes.
In the
Yes.
name of Jesus, we
Yes.
pronounce blessing upon your
Thank you.
business.
Thank you.
This morning, we pronounce business blessings.
Yes.
Everything that you touch in that office, may the hand of God be on it
Thank
as
you.
you move forward.
Amen.
May Yahweh dispatches angels in
Praise God.
right throughout
Yes.
every single room, right
Yes.
around the building.
Amen.
As people enter,
Yes.
may the presence of the Lord be in that building, that they might feel a difference.
Yes.
And might draw other people to you.
Amen.
And as
Praise
you
God.
say, we even touch the internet.
Yes.
Because as people, we touch the internet, we touch the phone line. So as people talk to you
Yes.
through the phone lines on the internet, God will be in the
Amen.
midst.
Thank you for that. I receive it, and it is so.
Amen.
Amen.
Again, blessings,
Thank
blessings,
you.
blessings, and thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Alderene, for having me.
I'm away. I want you know I'm on the sun. Oh, we're winning right now, yeah. Say we're winning right now. Me forget a trophy to what me living right now. Cause I'm winning right now, yeah. And I'm chilling right now. Oh, we're winning
Hey,
right
Sharon,
now.
you're late. You have to watch the
I'm
replay.
living right now. Cause
Blessings, blessings, my sister. Blessings.
I'm winning.
And thank you all for joining us today. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Love you. It was a pleasure having all of you here with us today. And those who
Hey,
are
want to know? Hey, I'm a walking W.
those of you who
Learn
are
from
on
the
the
ends.
radio,
Turn them in
I'm
a
not
medal
seeing
in a
you,
trophy
but
and
blessings
bells.
to all
Every
of
day you
you.
see me with
And
the
thank
pan on
you
next
so much for
film.
coming on and
Break
listening
records like we
to
crack connections.
Morning,
And every
Erika.
single ounce of
That's my
effort
best
we
friend in
expel.
Jamaica.
It's all about
Thank you
progress,
so
cause
much
we
for
have to
coming
excel
on.
and watch out. Looking
And
like
if you did not
success, we
hear
dress well.
this interview, you need to
Another
go watch
knockout
the
for the
replay.
ring the
It will
next
also be
spell.
on my
I'm about to
channel
send my haters
on
I can't to get well, cause I'm
YouTube as
sick of
well,
it.
and it's on Caribbean Live
I'm
on
so sick of
YouTube.
it.
So
But
make
that's the
sure,
origins of it. My hating
Sharon,
on the beauty
Sharon
when
says
we
she
did now we
will.
have it.
And I know you're going to be there tomorrow, Sharon. Because listen, this lady's a supporter. I know she's going to be there tomorrow.
And some complimentary food truck, so people don't have to eat after church.
All right, so you don't have to eat after church. There's a complimentary food truck. As a matter of fact, you don't have
Say
to
we're
cook.
winning right now. Me forget a trophy to what me living right now. Cause I'm winning right now, yeah. And I'm chilling right now. Oh, we're winning right
No
now.
matter what I have to do, I will.
Our Thanksgiving right now, yeah. I said we're winning right now. So every day you see we are the reigning champ. And at the cloud with the silver line we reigning from. Cause if